The Hiberno-Scottish mission was a mission initiated by Gaelic monks from Ireland and the western coast of modern-day Scotland, which spread Christianity and established monasteries in Great Britain and continental Europe during the Middle Ages. The mission originated in 563 with the foundation of Iona by the Irish monk St. Columba, and was initially concerned with ministering to the Gaels of Dal Riadar and converting the northern Pictish kingdoms. Over the next centuries the mission grew in power and influence and spread through Anglo-Saxon England and the Frankish Empire. The early mission is often associated with the Christian practice known as Celtic Christianity, which was distinguished by its organizations around monasteries rather than dioceses and certain idiosyncratic traditions. But the desire to maintain a relationship with the Holy See saw their missions take on a more Roman character. The Latin term Scotti refers to the Gaelic-speaking people of Ireland and the Irish who settled in western Scotland. In early medieval times Ireland was known not only as Eire but also as Scotia, a name that the Romans used at times to refer to Ireland as well as Scotland. By the end of the 11th century it generally referred to Scotland, which had become Gaelicized by settlers from Ireland, and from where the name Scotland derives. The Romans also gave Ireland the name of Hibernia. Thus, the Scots missionaries who were so influential in the early church history of Germany included men from both modern countries Ireland and Scotland. Schottenklister is the name applied to the monastic foundations of Scottish and Irish missionaries in continental Europe, particularly to the Scottish Benedictine monasteries in Germany, which in the beginning of the 13th century were combined into one congregation whose abbot general was the abbot of the Scots monastery at Regensburg. Ireland's sobriquet, Island of Saints and Scholars, derives from this period, when scholars and missionaries from Ireland exerted great influence on continental Europe. Columba to Columbanus. Irish abbot and missionary Columba founded the Abbey of Iona off the western coast of modern-day Scotland in 563. Following that was the foundation of Lindisfarne in 635 by the Irish monk St. Aidan. The missions continued throughout most Anglo-Saxon kingdoms during the following decades. The last pagan Anglo-Saxon king, Audwald of the Isle of Wight, was killed in battle in 686. Columbanus was active in the Frankish Empire from 590, establishing monasteries until his death at Bobbio in 615. He arrived on the continent with 12 companions and founded Annegray, Lucoy, and Fontaine in France and Bobbio in Italy. During the 7th century the disciples of Columbanus and other Scottish and Irish missionaries founded several monasteries in what are now France, Germany, Belgium, and Switzerland. The best known are St. Gall in Switzerland, Disibodenberg in the Rhine-Palatinate, St. Paul's at Besançon, Lieu in Cuisance in the Diocese of Besançon, Béziers in the Diocese of Langres, Remiremont Abbey and Moyenbridgier Abbey in the Diocese of Toul, Prévost-la-Ville in the Diocese of Liege, Mont Saint-Quentin at Péronne, Abersmanster in Lower Alsace, St. Martin's at Cologne, the Scots Monastery, Regensburg, Vienna, Erfurt and Würzburg. In Italy, Fiesole produced Saint Donatus of Fiesole and Andrew the Scot of Fiesole. Another early Schottenkloster was Sackingen in Baden, founded by the Irish missionary Fridolin of Sackingen, who is said to have founded another at Constance. Other Hiberno-Scottish missionaries active at the time, predominantly in Swabia, were Wendelin of Trier, Kilian, Arbogest, Landolin, Truppet, Perman, St. Gall, Corbinian, Emiram and Rupert of Salzburg. After Columbanus, Hiberno-Scottish activity in Europe gradually declined after the death of Columbanus. There were monastic foundations in Anglo-Saxon Britain, the first in about 630 at Cenobersburg, an unknown place in East Anglia but possibly Borough Castle mentioned by Bede. Others such as Malmesbury Abbey, perhaps Bosham, and Glastonbury Abbey had strong Irish links, even if they already existed before the arrival of the Hiberno-Scots. the profile of Iona declined, and from 698 until the reign of Charlemagne in the 770s, the Hiberno-Scottish efforts in the Frankish Empire were continued by the Anglo-Saxon mission. See Germanic Christianity. Irish monks known as Papa are said to have been present in Iceland before its settlement from 874 AD onwards by the Norse. The oldest source mentioning the Papa is the Islendingabok, between 1122 and 1133. Such figures are also mentioned in the Icelandic land name Abok, which states that the Norse found Irish priests, with bells and croziers, at Iceland at the time of their arrival. Among the Irish monks who were active in Central Europe were two particularly important theologians, Marianus Scotus and Johannes Scotus Eriugena. Legends surrounding Hiberno-Scottish foundations are recorded in a Middle High German text known as Charlemagne and the Scottish Saints. The rule of Saint Columbanus, which was originally followed in most of these monasteries, was soon superseded by that of Saint Benedict. Later Gaelic missionaries founded Honor in Baden, Murbach in Upper Alsace, Altamünster in Upper Bavaria, while other Gaelic monks restored St. Michel in Thieraich, Walsorten in Namur, and, at Cologne, the monasteries of St. Clement, St. Martin, St. Symphorian, and St. Pantaleon. Towards the end of the 11th and in the 12th century a number of Schottenkloster, intended for Scottish and Irish monks exclusively, sprang up in Germany. About 1072, 3 Scottish monks, Marianus, Iohannes, and Candidus, took up their abode at the little church of I St. Peter at Regensburg. Their number soon increased and a larger monastery was built for them by Burgrave Otto of Regensburg and his brother Henry. This became the famous Scots monastery of St. James in Regensburg, the mother house of a series of other Schottenkloster. It founded the abbeys of St. James at Würzburg, St. Egidius at Nuremberg, St. James at Constance, Our Blessed Lady at Vienna, St. Nicholas at Memmingen, Holy Cross at Eichstätt, and the Priory of Kelheim. These, together with the Abbey of St. James at Erfurt, and the Priory of I St. Peter at Ratisbon formed the famous congregation of the German Schottenkloster, which was erected by Innocent III in 1215, with the Abbot of St. James at Ratisbon as Abbot General. 14th century onwards. In the 14th and 15th centuries, most of these monasteries were on the decline, partly for want of Scottish or Irish monks, and partly on account of great laxity of discipline and financial difficulties. In consequence, the abbeys of Nuremberg and Vienna were withdrawn from the Scottish congregation and repeopled by German monks in 1418. St. James's Abbey, Würzburg, was left without any monks after the death of Abbot Philip in 1497. It was then repeopled by German monks and in 1506 joined the congregation of Bursfeld. In 1595, however, it was restored to the Scottish congregation and continued to be occupied by Scottish monks until its suppression in 1803. The Abbey of Constance began to decline in the first half of the 15th century and was suppressed in 1530. That of Memmingen also disappeared during the early period of the Protestant Reformation. The Abbey of Holy Cross at Eichstätt seems to have ceased early in the 14th century. In consequence of the Protestant Reformation in Scotland, many Scottish Benedictines left their country and took refuge in the Schottenkloster of Germany during the 16th century. The Scottish monasteries in Ratisbon, Erfurt, and Würzburg again began to flourish temporarily, but all endeavours to regain the monasteries of Nuremberg, Vienna, and Constance for monks of Scottish nationality were useless. In 1692 Abbot Placidus Fleming of Ratisbon reorganized the Scottish congregation, which now comprised the monasteries of Ratisbon, Regensburg, Erfurt, and Würzburg, the only remaining Schottenkloster in Germany. He also erected a seminary in connection with the monastery at Ratisbon, but the forced secularization of monasteries in 1803 put an end to the Scottish abbeys of Erfurt and Würzburg, leaving St. James's at Ratisbon as the only surviving Schottenkloster in Germany. Though since 1827 this monastery was again permitted to accept novices, the number of its monks dwindled down to 2 capitulas in 1862. There being no hope of any increase, Pope Pius IX suppressed this last Schottenkloster in his brief of 2 September 1862. Its revenues were distributed between the diocesan seminary of Ratisbon and the Scots College at Rome. Literature. Bowen, G. Saints, Seaways and Settlements in the Celtic Lands. Cardiff, University of Wales Press. ISBN 0-900-768-30-4. Shaw, Frank, ed. Karl der Große die Schottischen Heiligen. Nach der Handschrift Harley 3971 der Britischen Bibliothek London. Karl the Great and the Scottish Saints. After the manuscript Harley 3971 in the British Library. Deutsche Text des Mittelalters, German Texts of the Middle Ages, LXXI. Berlin. Akademie Verlag.